Award from the British Parliament is indeed akin to receiving a political Oscar, since the British Parliament is the torchbearer for parliamentary procedures which are followed by many other parliaments of the world, including my own parliament. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Honourable Speaker of the House of Commons and the judging panel, including the Honourable Alex Salmond, Chris, as well as many others, Tasmina and others, and the judging panel, and having chosen me from a galaxy of many other distinguished international parliamentarians for this award. Ladies and gentlemen, democracy is a system of values. To be associated with these values as a South Asian, as a woman, and as a beneficiary of the work of one of the greatest democrats in history, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, is an honor indeed. The founder of my country, Pakistan, won us freedom through democratic means, through the persuasive power of the people, through the compelling narrative of the people's aspirations. Democracy is not an alien, foreign, or faraway concept for Pakistanis. It is our culture and it's our tradition. Pakistan has indeed come a long way in its struggle for establishing a sustainable version of democracy a la Pakistanes. It has been a privilege to have been a part of this struggle. So as I accept this great honor, I would like to dedicate this great recognition to my soil, to my Jija, to Pakistan, to my party, the PMLN, to my leadership, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, to my family, to all those who created this, and most importantly, to the most vulnerable families, and especially women of Pakistan, the best beneficiaries. I want you to know that whilst I accept this Democracy Award tonight, that it is not in fact Marvi that you have chosen for this Democracy Award. It is those who I actually work for you have honored. On their behalf, I thank you. Those who I represent, to those who I am accountable, and to whom I have dedicated my life. The vulnerable Pakistani women and the underprivileged children from villages and cities across the country. Out of work and out of luck fathers with no skills, no immediate prospects for a better tomorrow. You have in fact honored those vulnerable women and families who are the real heroes of tonight and of the developing Pakistan, since they struggle hardest for their own survival and that of Pakistan, the true sons and daughters of the soil. This framing of Pakistan is a framing of the past and not its future. Of course, my government and I work against the deprivation and the denial of opportunity that has defined life for so many millions. But this too is a framing of what represents that which stands in our way. My government and I work for the creation of opportunity, for the expanded ability among my Pakistani sisters to seize that opportunity, and for the expansion and deepening of more opportunity for women in more places across my country. As a parliamentarian since 2008, I have had the unique privilege of working for the human rights of the most vulnerable and discriminated segments of Pakistani society. During my entire professional life, there has been one thread and theme which has been my guiding light and a constant. The responsibilities I have inherited because of the name I have been given. Marvi, which means daughter of the soil, has a legendary folk story behind it. And as is one of the heroines of the greatest Sufi poet called Shah Abdul Latif Bhittai. The responsibilities of Marvi are dedicating her life to her people and rejecting power and comforts. It prescribes the highest forms of sacrifice in order to achieve the greatest good for the greater amount of people. With this as a strong spiritual background, I have attempted to champion throughout my parliamentary life the causes of violence against women, religious minorities, ethnic minorities, trade unions, natural disaster victims, and I have been fortunate to legislate acid legislation and the setting up of the Parliamentary Training Institute legislation. As a first-time parliamentarian in the opposition benches, I used a three-pronged approach to contribute towards building a just Pakistani society where all citizens could realize their full potential versus just the strong. I used the parliamentary pulpit by raising injustices and by introducing legislation. I used the judiciary's forum of public interest litigation and won, and I used street protests when nothing else worked. In my second tenure in Parliament, when my party was in government, I had the experience of heading the Parliamentary Committee on Information, and more recently, since 2.5 years, I have been heading Pakistan's largest social safety net, namely the Benazir Income Support Program, the BISP. Pakistan is definitely at that stage of its development where one is really fortunate to make firsts happen and to make firsts possible in terms of process improvement. They are visible and one can celebrate them. The biggest joys of leading this has been the visualization of the impact the yearly $1.21 billion budget that BISP has and that it has on the most vulnerable families of Pakistan. It amounts to about £35 cash stipend per woman beneficiary every 3 months for our total 4 million beneficiaries, and this is what the impact is much beyond the cash which is given. Whilst 90% of this amount is from the Pakistani exchequer, we're extremely grateful for the support given by DFID, World Bank and the ADP who contribute the rest of the 10%. At BISP, we are humbled to be part of a silent women empowerment revolution where we don't just give cash stipends every 3 months to the poorest, we live what many others can only dream of being a part of. We try to give meaning to the lives of the vulnerable. We give dignity and we empower financially, socially, politically the poorest women and therefore families of Pakistan. I'm proud to share with you that in the Pakistani Social Safety Net contract, women are at the heart of the mechanism we have devised to help families in financial straits stay afloat. The Pakistani government, as a matter of public policy, chooses to put its trust in the women of those families. BISP is a program which is a statement of intent. We aren't going to take the status quo or the curse of poverty lying down. We're going to fight it. And when it comes to defining a fight, who better than the great old son of England, Sir Winston Churchill? How shall we fight? Well, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. This fight is what the struggle of every single employee of BISP is all about. We fight for the survival of our vulnerable. That is the spirit of Islam taught to all Pakistanis as to how to take care of our vulnerable. BISP has been a program that has been a decade in the making and has enjoyed the bipartisan support of bitterly divided political opponents. It has been owned by all political parties despite the branding of Benazir, simply because no politician can roll back a cash stipend to the poorest voters of their constituencies, which enables the poor to survive the hardship of hunger and poverty. Its success is derived from 2 ingredients of a politician's repertoire, which are key for legacy: systems and passion. Let me at the outset describe some of the systems that we have created. First, we identify the poorest families eligible for cash stipend through a scientific survey of all households of Pakistan, which are graded using latest poverty means testing. In 2010, we surveyed 27 million households, a population of 155 million people, and identified out of them 7.7 million as eligible BISP beneficiaries. This database, called the National Socioeconomic Registry, is our core strength. Our systems upgrade on this survey will ensure that the current 2017-18 NSCR survey will be the world's highest technology-driven survey with its latest MIS and dashboards using GPS coordinates. The NSCR's targeted methodology of knowing your customer is a USP that BISP has a monopoly on, which can improve development spending in Pakistan to such proportions that could make it a world leader in targeted development subsidies, leading to savings the world cannot even imagine. That, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is the next target for Pakistan's next political Oscar. Secondly, the systems of payment to the most illiterate and vulnerable women of Pakistan have evolved over time. Whilst BISP can take credit for ensuring 100% of its population has identity cards, like you mentioned, and thus voting rights due to the requirement being mandatory for payment, BISP has enabled its beneficiaries politically as well as financially. BISP started a payment mechanism with Pakistan Post. It then went on to smart cards, mobile phone banking, then ATM cards, and now finally our latest innovator called the biometrically verified system. The BVS reduces the role of the middleman to zero, increases transparency, forces the woman to be present at the time of payment in market centers, thus empowerment, and ensures that women beneficiaries are financially included in the banking systems of the country. We have converted, ladies and gentlemen, 30% of our customer base, and before the next general elections, we need to convert all of it. And now, a few words on the value-added proposition, which is our passion. We at BISP have a conditional cash grant, partly funded by the UK government, which has sent 1.7 million children between the ages of 5 to 12 to school. The program contributes to the SDGs, but also to the reduction in child labor. For me, the most exciting part of the program is the fact that it has created 65,000 BIS beneficiary committees in order to activate school enrollment. These committees train 1.6 million beneficiaries on subjects which are critical for what I think is the key, the silent women empowerment revolution. They enable the sense of entitlement the beneficiaries have, which has led some of them taking part in local government elections and becoming, in fact, political councillors, which is a huge deal for us. The BBCs are training grounds on important issues like education, raising issues related to the services provided by local government, importance of nutrition, family planning, women's rights in Islam, usage of government microcredit facilities, important vaccination for children, etc., etc. In short, on all those concerns which lead to the development of democratic societies, where women understand their rights, where they discuss their issues with the confidence of knowing their voice actually matters, where they're financially inclusive, and they know that they have a future beyond poverty. Watching women in action in these BBCs, Honourable Speaker, in the middle of conservative villages, where women couldn't even leave their homes earlier, is my daily inspiration. And I'm normally found more in the villages than in the city centres. That is the BIS revolution we have succeeded in creating, for which you honour my beneficiaries tonight. This is the new Pakistan, the evolving Pakistan, the empowered Pakistan that you honour tonight. The most satisfying moments for me personally have been the 10% reduction in malnourishment, the 74% decision-making rates of women which have increased due to BIS, the high enrollment numbers for children who will now have a future, the exiting of poverty of over 60,000 women by utilizing loans, the understanding which e-commerce can have in changing the financial empowerment of BIS beneficiaries by opening markets for their handmade unique products. That, ladies and gentlemen, is from a Pakistan where women are in the lead to improve the lives of their families with the smallest opportunities given to them. That is my hungry for transformation Pakistan that I'm extremely proud to be a part of. What motivates me to want to wake up and work every morning, despite the bureaucratic hurdles, is when I see that women have more dignity in their homes due to this. Women can now not just dream of respect for themselves from their families, but they can demand it. Women can now not just educate their children, they can ensure it. Women can clothe, feed, and house their families better to the empowerment given by this. That to me is a silent women empowerment revolution we are leading in Pakistan. That is the empowered Pakistan that you have honoured, and that is what is deeply motivating for me also. So the women empowerment fight is indeed a long war and a long fight that will last all my political life. I have deeply reflected upon the significance of this wonderful recognition tonight, the Democracy Award. And upon reflection, it is clear to me that what you're honouring me with, what does it actually mean? It means that the fight is far from over. It means that standing up for my sisters is considered extraordinary today. It means that ensuring that their training and mobilization is in a male chauvinistic environment is considered also extraordinary. It means that establishing and then constantly helping raise the threshold or what is considered a dignified social security payment is also considered extraordinary. But for me and my Pakistani sisters, we don't want to live in a time and place in which these things are considered extraordinary. We want a world in which dignity and opportunity are a birthright for everyone, and all are equal as per your, as per your coat of arms. We want a world in which, for every background and every gender, everything is equal. We want a world in which Marvi is the norm, not the exception, because everyone is taking the fight to the enemy. The enemy is unequal access, unfair privilege, and unsustainable inequality. So more than honouring me with this award, you have reminded me of the long fight ahead. I cannot thank you enough for this reminder and for this honour. We shall not flag or fail, and we shall never, ever, ever surrender. The people I work for will not have it any other way. And Allah Sahi willing, I will not let my people or my Marura down in this lifelong fight. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am deeply honoured and most grateful. Thank you.
There was an enormous passion and inspiration and resonance in what you had to say to us. And if memory serves me correctly, your mission statement in the programme specifies that the goal is, my friends, to empower women and to give dignity and meaning to their lives. And it is absolutely abundantly clear to me, and I suspect to everybody here, that that's what you have done and are doing. And as you said yourself, it's what causes you to jump out of bed in the morning and